Jose Mourinho teams don't use a structured possessional system in which there are a complicated series of guidelines and rehearsals about where you move and when that allows the team to rely upon those methods, rely on that information to continually create goals over and over again from possession. Instead, Mourinho teams attack through three means, and these are quite famously attacking into space by counter-attacking, starting off with defending deep. Player improvisation, which is simply having some of the best attacking players in the world, as he often has had. And the third is a thing that I call automations. I think he calls them automatisms or something like that, but it's the same idea. Basically, these are specific rehearsed moves with specific players and specific interactions that have been practiced repeatedly in the exact example on the training ground and then brought to practice on the pitch. One you might recognize has two different triggers. In possession, the trigger is when a midfielder has the ability to turn with the ball. What happens is Harry Kane moves away from the central defenders. This is the trigger for Son to begin his move in behind. The ball is played to Kane. He turns quickly with the ball as Son completes his run, and Kane can feed the ball to him and Son is through. You may well recognise this one. Out of possession is a similar situation. The trigger is Spurs win the ball. As soon as Spurs win the ball, Kane drops off his defender. Son recognises that, begins making the run, the ball goes to Kane, Kane turns with the ball, Son completes his run in behind, and Son is through on goal. This is something that Spurs have used to their advantage many times this season. There's a couple of issues. One is that when you continue the same rehearsed move again and again, week after week, teams cotton onto it and can prepare, at least to an extent. These are still brilliant players talking about. The teams can prepare to counter that and recognise it. And the other is that sometimes Harry Kane gets injured. Now, any team who are missing Harry Kane, one of the best players in the world, the best player in the squads, the first choice number 9, at the same time the first choice number 10, they're going to suffer. But Spurs are suffering especially because of how reliant they are on this particular move and Harry Kane in general. Here are 5 potential automations that Spurs could use while they're missing Harry Kane. Now, Harry Kane isn't going to be missing forever. Apparently his injury is more minor than originally thought, and he might only be out for a couple of weeks, but he can't play every week. He's going to get injured again, and Spurs need some other ideas. In the 2 games so far without Harry Kane on the pitch, although this is only him coming off at half time, Spurs have played Son up top. They do have another option in Vinicius. They could potentially play Bale there, but this is a specific move with Son in mind because teams know that Son isn't going to offer much coming towards the ball. He's not going to turn, he's not going to bring others into play. Son's pretty much only threat is the run in behind. So they're going to be prepared for that. They may even possibly be over eagerly prepared for that. This is a specific automation. I think the trigger should be when the ball comes out to the left back or the left wing back, or potentially maybe Ndombele in the left channel. That is going to trigger Son making an early near post run, which will hopefully drag defenders, and then the idea is that Gareth Bale will come from the right channel to arrive late for the late cross. Bale is clearly suffering with his ability to find match fitness, but he's still very good at timing his runs. He's still got a good leap on him, and he's still got a very good header. I think this will maximise the use of Bale. He doesn't want to play up front, apparently, but he can play a sort of becoming the centre forward role from the right side. So again, the trigger is the left back receives the ball with time to set up the cross. Son makes the early run, trying to drag as many defenders with him as possible. Bale arrives late into the box for the header. Okay, automation number 2. I think that a good trigger for this one would be whenever Ndombele beats his man. So whenever Ndombele dribbles the midfielder, this is the trigger. This is going to be a little more complicated than the others. There's going to be several parts to this. So as Ndombele is dribbling his man, which is compared to almost anyone else in the world, a high percentage rate of success. As that is happening, Son's job is to move to the left channel. Bale takes up the right channel, and this is creating something that's a bit retro, modern retro, a false nine situation. And Bergwijn is going to move from his left channel, become the false nine, and receive immediately from Ndombele. In this situation, it is then up to Bergwijn to decide whether the pass is on wide for Son, whether the pass is on wide for Bale, or whether he's better off, depending on how the midfielders are trying to pick him up here, whether he's best off carrying the ball towards goal. Okay, automation number 3. The trigger for this is going to be whenever Lloris plays long to Vinicius, right? We've had a couple here, assuming that Son's going to be playing up top, but he's not going to be the only option. Already you can say maybe we're struggling without a physical target up front. So if Vinicius is playing up front, whenever Lloris goes long to Vinicius, that is the first trigger for Ndombele to push up away from central midfield. The idea will then be for Vinicius to knock the ball down for Ndombele. Whenever Son and Bale or Bergwijn or whoever's playing in the two wing positions, it's going to be Son and someone, let's be realistic. Whenever the two wingers see that Vinicius is winning the header and Ndombele is pushed up, their job is to make immediate runs to attack in behind, and Ndombele is going to play the first time or maybe second time ball in behind for one of those wingers. This is the up, back and through automation. Okay, ploy number 4 is for when we have an advanced midfield possession and we are pushing the opposition fairly far back into their own box. And this is just going to be a simple and common one, and also an adjustable one. It's going to be a focus on overloads and cutbacks. So overload the defensive line, get the ball out to the wing back or the full back, and Ndombele and Højbjerg, their job is to arrive late. This can work either from a deeper position or more likely from sort of an advanced byline position, but you get the defence worrying about no less than 3 runners in the attacking line, and then the central midfielder is there to take the deeper position shot on the edge of the box. Now, these automations might resemble things that you might see in American football or things that you might see in basketball. There's one other thing that they resemble, and that is corners. Corners are an area where Spurs are actually pretty well prepared this season, attacking corners at least. We already have our automations prepped up really well from corners, I think. So the 5th idea is to play for corners. This is achieved by shooting from distance, shooting low and shooting with power into shins, crossing, similar situation, and just shelling it into the box as hard as you can to force an awkward deflection, get the corner, and then you can set up something a little more interesting with a near post flick on and a late far post arrival from the corner.